it's going to make, it's not a total loss, but it's definitely going to be severely impacted and nowhere near the top end of its yield.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Comstock channel. I'm Marlon Bowling with you, and I sure enjoy having you with us. We appreciate you building our audience as we go. And it's thanks to your help that we continue to grow into one of the fastest growing ag podcasts out there. I want to encourage you, make sure you like these videos, subscribe to them by clicking on the bell icon, and also make sure you share these videos with others. And by the way, we encourage you to join in the comment section down below. Let us know how things are going in your neighborhood. How are the crops looking? How does the harvest look if you're that far along? What are the prospects? Do you think the crop will make it? Anything you have to share with the rest of our audience, we'd be glad to hear what you have to say about your local area. So thanks for doing that. Today, I'm joined by Relph. He's with Comstock Investments. He happens to be on the road, in case you can't tell. He's actually out in the field, and he's in the far western Corn Belt right now. Eric, give us an idea of where you are. You're in the Central Plains somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm in south central Nebraska in Franklin County. I'm right outside the town of Franklin, and drove across from northwest Iowa to Grand Island, Nebraska yesterday. And then today we're heading down to northwest Kansas, just stopping to see fields along the way, have a few clients to meet with, met with a couple today already, and just kind of making rounds and seeing what's going on everywhere and what things are looking like.
Okay, let's talk about your trip. You left one of the biggest flooded areas of the Corn Belt in northwest Iowa, and now you're heading through the Cornhusker State, heading down into Kansas. And I'm sure you're probably seeing all the extremes, from too wet to pretty good to too dry. What are you seeing right now as you get by that Kansas-Nebraska border there?
Yeah, so like you said, we're just north of the Kansas-Nebraska border, and I have our office manager Katie on the road with us, my wife and I, on this trip, and we've been, of course, eyeballing every field as we go by, because they're in her family farm as well. And so what we've been seeing generally, of course, we come out of the flooded areas in northwest Iowa, and we Comstock and everyone that we're looped in with on a regular basis know what that looks like. And then you get down into west central Iowa, and things look pretty good. And so mentally, I'm thinking, as I'm going through those areas, this is what Pro Farmer's going to see for the bulk of their tour next week. And I've been kind of thinking about that in the back of my mind as I go through some of these areas where they're not going to be, and what does it look like by comparison. Now, here in Nebraska, coming across central Nebraska down to I-80, everything under pivot looks fantastic. You really can't say enough good about a lot of this crop. And most of the beans look really good because they've had some timely rains here these last few weeks. But there are definitely exceptions. And the biggest one we've seen in this immediate region is hail. There's a lot of hailed out corn, and it's going to make, it's not a total loss, but it's definitely going to be severely impacted and nowhere near the top end of its yield potential. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out for a lot of these folks. But then talking to clients that we're going to visit later today in Kansas, and he said, you can just do drive-by appraisals because the answer is zero. So I'll be interested to see what those look like later today.
Of course, you're in cattle country, in that part of the country. If it did have enough hail damage to where it really wouldn't be feasible for a crop, they can at least chop it up for silage and get some feed usage out of it that way. But to your point, that keeps the grain off of the market, though.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there's a lot of top end loss as you come across, and for different reasons, whether it's flood, drought, hail, or otherwise.
Talk to me about the crops you're seeing there. Have you run into any grain sorghum yet? We call it Milo in Kansas, but have you seen any yet or not? Dryland?
No, I guess the short answer is not really. There have been a couple of fields, but we're still about an hour away from where we'll ship from soybeans to Milo. So we'll see what the Milo's looking later this afternoon.
So now on your trek, you're going to be heading down into Kansas. How far will you end up going?
So we'll go down to Highway 36 in the northern quarter of Kansas, and then across to Phillipsburg, and then south from Phillipsburg to Hayes, and spend most of the time that we're down there in that Phillipsburg to Hayes area along Highway 183.
So interesting stuff. I hope you have safe travels. Thanks for taking a couple of moments to get us updated on what you're doing. And if you don't mind, after the weekend, maybe we can catch up on what you found, kind of do a summary report, and you can give
Yeah,
us a better idea of what you have found on your trip up to that point. Maybe you can add a few pictures along the way as well. Eric, travel safe. Look forward to talking with you next week. That's Eric Relph of Comstock Investments. And that'll do it for this episode. We'll have more to come after the weekend. And for producer Brianne Hendrickson, I'm Marlon Bowling. We'll catch you next time right here on the Comstock channel. Thanks for joining us on our Comstock YouTube channel. Don't forget you can also find us on Facebook and TikTok as well. Futures trading involves risk. The risk of loss in trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results.